Hi there, my name is Kendrick, and today I get to interview Emily and Darren. They're both standard and jumper ENTP, and we're gonna go compare both of these guys, see what is the difference and similarities with them. So I'll get them to introduce themselves, starting with Emily. So go ahead and take it.
Hi, I'm Emily. I'm standard ENTP. Double masculine, NETI, consume play, blast, sleep.
All right, Darren.
And I am Darren. I am double feminine, play, consume, blast, sleep.
All right, guys. So let's go start with the elephant in the room. Both you guys, including myself.
Wait, the elf in the room?
Elephant.
Oh,
I think you're not me.
that was a whole. That's like an NF thing. Like, oh no, the elf in the room. Who?
Which is SI. You guys have SI in the bottom. That's what you both share, including myself. And that's gonna be like the biggest problem. So we're gonna jump to that first. And even right before this interview, I hit end by accident. So I was supposed to record and I got kicked out of Zoom.
Yeah.
And then Emily was talking and she got herself like muted the whole time. And SI problems everywhere, So let's talk about that first. And you're both
Wait, sorry. Darren, what's your modalities again?
Play, consume, blast, sleep.
Your modalities? Do you have a masculine
No.
SI? Or
No, I have feminine SI and feminine. What else is my thing?
Yeah, as you read your paper, feminine SI. I can
No,
see
and feminine
that.
FE.
Confirmed.
Right. I have masculine NT, right?
Okay, got it.
And feminine yes.
All right,
Okay.
guys. So let's jump into here. So your SI problem is coming from sleep last. You're both sleep last, and your sleep last is ST. So
Wait. I think my SI problem is coming from SI itself. If that would just go away, then all my problems would go away too, don't you see?
all right, well, let's hear it. Let's hear it.
I'm just kidding. Well, where do you want to start with it? I mean, like that's the most
SI, right?
Yeah.
And so masculine SI is going to be different from feminine SI.
Yeah. So do you describe it what it's like for you? Do you feel like you're just a balloon wafting on the air, floating into outer space?
Yes.
Okay.
No, I think so. Yeah, I think with the feminine SI, it actually gives you like a maneuverability in space, which you probably
So
should
like you
have.
can like crawl through keyholes and things, like
Yeah,
Gumby
like
style.
a mouse, I can squeeze underneath the door.
Yeah.
Or like like they always talk about that wiggle body kind of thing, where you can just kind of like move around or flow. It becomes a problem though when life is requiring you to stay still and be structured and hold a form.
Oh, right.
And you.
Yeah, but if someone is shooting at you, you can do the Matrix. Like.
Exactly. I can do. But when you're not supposed to move, it's not good.
Yeah.
Like even right now, I have one leg slightly like wobbling or wiggling because it's kind of hard to sit still sometimes.
That's probably like a sleep last thing because my legs are also wiggling. So it's
Oh, really?
Yeah, right. I do that too. It's like, I guess, like any plus sleep last is like max. Can't sit still.
But I think, yeah, I mean, like SI is what is routine, right? So doing things repetitively over and over and over again, and the same thing, like not something new, not introducing new elements, but actually narrowing down. I mean, that's really hard.
Yeah, unnecessary even, some might say.
And you think you're doing it sometimes, like I do, and I'm not even doing it. I'm actually adding on. I think, oh, I'm going to narrow down by doing this. And I'm actually adding on to what I already have instead of narrowing down. If I just do a little bit more research, I'm sure I'll come up with the answer, and then that'll be it. Done deal. And I'm like, 8 days later.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You're still doing it.
Yeah, that's what I always say. It's like, oh, you want to be consumed? Well, get ready to have bed sores because you're just gonna, especially if it's any consume, you're just lying there. Like, let me keep reading about this. Let me just keep reading until I have bed sores.
I don't think it's really that bad unless you're in an environment that really stresses, using it a lot. Like I've had some bosses that were ISTJ, and because they're your boss, you're an extension of them, and they will they're going to ground you into the ground because they've got to control every single thing you do, and every I, and literally every I has to be dotted and every T has to be crossed. and you're trying as hard as you can until you finally snap and you're like, now I'm mad.
Ooh,
Because
what
you
does it
can't
look
do
like
it.
when you snap? Can you snap right? Can we make you snap during this?
Not likely. Not you guys.
Okay, well then just describe it. We'll have to settle for a subpar representation.
No, because that turns into violence and stuff. Or
Oh, when you snap, you get violent at work?
no,
Oh,
I've never got to that point. I check myself way before I get to that.
okay. So what does it look like?
Like I had a job where I had to literally quit before, I started going off on people.
Because you knew you were going to. You
I'm
knew
like,
your
I'm about to
DI
lose
swing was
it.
coming.
Yeah, it started to come into my brain. I'm like, you know what? This is like, and I start to do the add up. I'm like, let me add up the points and see how much longer do I have. And then I'm like, the best thing I
Wait.
can do is,
What does the add up the points mean?
it's just kind of.
Oh, is that like DE scorekeeping?
I don't know. I don't know what it was. I didn't know anything about OP at the time. All I know is that I was reaching my breaking point, and I was like, well, I could look for a therapist, because I was blaming myself for everything because I'm DI, like double masculine TI, right? Or yeah. So anyway, just single masculine actually.
Okay, that's a really good idea though. I'm gonna start keeping okay, let me show you. I'm gonna have like a little booklet like this, and I'm just gonna keep it like in my breast pocket, and whenever someone does something I don't like, I'm just gonna have a pencil and be like, that's one.
Maybe your SI will allow you to do that. Mine, I would lose score in like
and
5.
then I'll be like, you're racking up your score before I table flip out of here.
I'm only doing it for myself. Like, I'm not looking at everybody else saying that they're at fault. I'm realizing I put myself in this situation. I'm responsible, and I got to get myself out. And that's, that's how
that's interesting though. Okay, so this is something that I'm interested in because I was having a conversation recently about there is a difference between the way DI and DE blames self and others, especially in double deciders, but I'm also curious in like the difference between masculine DE versus masculine DI, because the way that it happens for me is like I see the tribe as really aggressive, and especially demon DE. Like I see everything like it. My default point of view is like, oh, it can't possibly be my fault because I'm holding myself to a certain standard, so obviously it's all of your fault until it really comes down to when push comes to shove, I will put pressure on myself. But I do think that DE, as even double deciders, a lot of times they'll assume that they are the problem. Do you find that that's true for you?
Yeah, I do, because I'm just receptive. It's hard for me to not know what other people are doing or what they're thinking or how they're being. And, and I'm used to flowing around them. And if things are not flowing or if somebody says something to me, then I will correct myself, up to a point.
Yeah.
But I'm not correcting myself like I think that I'm wrong. I think that I'm trying to adjust to them because I think that they're weak. And I think that
you think that they're
far, if they push, and if I let if I don't adjust, I might hurt them, or I might destroy whatever it is. I'll ruin the flow. And I'm trying not to ruin the flow. So
right, you're trying to accommodate because you'll have a masculine TI swing.
Because if I have a TI swing, it's going to be over. And I won't turn it down. I won't
what does that look like?
I will trash them. I'll trash the whole, like it's like this.
Oh, you'll come in and you'll have a blame moment and you'll be like, this.
No, I won't do that. I won't do that. I never get to that point, but I know I'm capable.
Have you, like, even when you were a kid and stuff?
Yeah, I did when I was a kid.
And you would like go off on people?
That I brought, oh my goodness, it was, so bad. It was so demonic that I just I had to like sit down and go, you know what? That was way over the top. You did not have to do all of that, And so I'm like, now I'm still raging, and everybody else is like not thinking about it. Everybody else has gone about their business, and I would hold this anger with me, and I was just like, you gotta learn to like diffuse this way before you get to this point.
Yeah, that sounds interesting. That sounds like an interesting like push and pull, because I can see that you still have like TI, the tribe is dumb and wrong, but you're also obligated more than I am to like accommodate people for longer.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, how do you live if you don't, if you don't accommodate?
If you don't, I thought you were
Terrible
gonna
people,
say, how do you live with dumb and wrong people? That's what I would have said.
Well, it also I double decide on it though. It's like
Right.
it's only dumb and wrong from where I'm sitting, but I'm sure if I was in their head, they're doing what they know. They're doing the very best they can. Sometimes
I
not,
don't know.
but a lot of times from what they know, I'm like, well, coming from their dumb angle, of course they're doing what they can. They're stupid. I'm like, I don't expect a baby to know how to do adult
Oh
things.
yeah.
So I kind of try to think about people like, well, they're kind of like a baby, and you don't punch a baby,
That's a good
They
one.
cry and they cry and they cry, but you coddle them,
Right.
it's really
You
bad.
burp
You go back to
them.
the parents and you go away.
Yeah.
But you don't
Right.
punch them in the face. That's how I try to treat people. So that,
Okay. I get it.
I'm
That's
being,
interesting.
sarcastic.
You're being completely sensory literal, right?
Yes.
You carry bibs around with you
I
and
do.
you
I
put
carry
them
a
on
bottle
people
on a
and you
bib.
say, there, you sophomoric, small child and incompetent child. It will be okay.
It's
Okay,
like-
so I'm curious about you guys.
we totally left the subject of what we were talking about.
Was
No,
that?
that's what we were talking
Yeah,
about.
It's fine. No, your EPs, whatever. It's fine. Like so. I'm curious. So Emily's self-above tribe, but Darren is lead FE. Your NEFE, right? So I want to ask you guys about self-expression and whatnot. So and emotional expression. So Darren, you have FE as the savior, right? But then Emily, you have it as a demon, but you're self-above tribe. So how do you guys feel about like self-expression and expressing your emotions and whatnot? Like how do you guys do that? Because like, is it harder for you, Emily, because you're demon FE, or is it easier because you're self-above tribe? And then with Darren, it's same thing, right? You have savior FE, so emotional expression should be easy, but then you're tribe above self. So do you need permission first before you do that? So what's going on with you guys?
That's
Who wants to take this first?
You want to go first, Emily?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I find, well, feminine DI too, I'm very reluctant to say not so much expressing emotions, because FE and masculine and double activated, but it's usually for the tribe in a DE way. It's like almost performative. In case you haven't noticed, if you've seen me around, most of what I do is fairly performative. It often doesn't come, it comes from a place in my DI because that's part of the fun of creating a persona. But most of the time, it's hard to get my actual expression of my DI. You have to really like spend time digging at it because I'm protective of it, and I feel savior feminine functions feel like uncertain a lot of times. So yeah, I'm usually very aware of it, but I'm using expression with feelings to like obfuscate and like punch out to keep people from coming in too close. That's what I would say.
Interesting. So the sexual modality is the one that is playing a bigger part here.
Well, I guess you might have to talk to some of the other masculine TIs to see what they say, but I would imagine it would make a difference.
What about you, Darren? Tribe above self, but lead FE. So
It's really weird. I don't know. Because I always considered myself, I'm fairly outgoing, usually around people, but usually it's when I initially meet people, I am a little on the reserve side, just to see, how they are. And then I would gradually, see how much they can handle. Because there is a point where people were like, it's like, they can't handle this. They can only handle so much. And so if I'm if I'm around people who are very, very conservative and very, kind of uptight, I'm going to rein it in. I'm not going to just unleash and just.
Oh, you're gonna read the room.
Huh?
I said you're gonna read the room.
I try to
NF.
read the room, yeah, and then I'll gradually, explore it, go as far as I can. I'll take it to a point, but I realize that other people are there and I have to be, you know, cognizant. And sometimes there are stronger personalities in the room than mine. And I'm not going to go, you know, toe to toe and ruin the, because it's always about the vibe, right? And that's what the FE does. It's looking at the vibe and it's flowing with the vibe. It's not going to deliberately destroy the vibe, but I don't mind stirring things up to some degree, as long as it stays light on a certain level. I don't mind poking fun at people or making a fool of myself or you know, joining in and doing like everybody jumps up and starts dancing. I'm not going to say, oh, I'm not going to dance. I'm going to stand here and look at everybody scornfully. You know, I'll probably go like, hey, you know, this is fun. Let's do it. Let's try it. You know, whatever it is.
Yeah. Well, right. And I guess, Kendrick, to your question, that I think I saw a fairly clear difference in our answers. Like, I was explaining from my point of view. I didn't hear a lot of your actual point of view in that, Darren.
My point of view in that?
Yeah, I heard this is how I react to the tribe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of a.
So when does your point of view come out?
It's, I mean, it's NF play, right? So it's tickly, it's funny, or it's kind of, you know, going with the vibe of the tribe and trying to, you know, arouse people, but in a positive way, or charm them, you know, charm and disarm instead of like, so, you know, disarming conflicts, that kind of thing, and trying to read, you know, the unspoken.
How long can you do that? How long can you stay in play?
Now, for quite a while, I think it did. Ooh.
Like when does your TI swing finally happen? Even if it's in like a positive setting.
Oh, usually once you get into a conversation, a deeper conversation. So
when you're connecting with people one-on-one type of thing, or in small.
Yeah, we'll be talking, and then I see somebody sitting in the corner. I'm like, oh, that person looks interesting, and they're on the, you know, a little bit more on the quiet, serious side, but they might have some like deep information. I'm gonna smooth over there, and I start engaging them in conversation, and then they start revealing themselves, and then we go and then hopefully we can go to a deep dive into like all kinds of stuff that, you know, is not surface. And then, you know, all this stuff starts coming, all the TI stuff and all the, you know, any stuff starts coming out, and, you know, just whatever, we go into this deep dive. I love that.
Emily, are you also reading the room with your double activated play?
Yeah, but I'm a little bit less obligated to conform to the vibe. Like, one, because I'm DI, I'm not obligated to the vibe, and then two, because masculine FE, if I really want to, I feel like I should move the vibe, you know, rather than move to it.
So how do you move the vibe? Like, what are you doing?
Oh, you just go out and you start like, you see where people are having emotions and you start poking there. So you start joking with people, or you start saying things that are contradictory, or I mean, obviously my natural inclination is to move the vibe to like a trolley direction, but they can work in any direction, really. You know, if the vibe is down, you can start joking with people to make them feel better. If the vibe is like too up and where you need to get work done, you can be like, okay, it's time to get serious using FE, punching people. You know, it's just like seeing where we are, where we need to go, and then like it's like, you know, like a little sheepdog just going around the edges, like, okay, everybody, let's go where we need to go.
Maybe that's I mean, maybe ENTPs are like that. They're like master manipulators in one way or another, right? Like they're always constantly.
Yeah, but I can't do it probably as well or as long as you can. Like, I could manage it for probably like half of a party, and then I'm done. I'm out. Peace.
Yeah, usually I'm like, I think it depends on the type of party or gathering it is, because usually I'm in support of the host. So I'm, you know, like I had a good friend, ENFJ, loved throwing parties and stuff like that, and she'd always invite me because my duty, I, you know, internalized. I never vocalized it, but internally I would always say, you know, I'm going to this party. I'm glad I was invited. My responsibility is to make it as lively.
You're the hype man. Oh,
Yeah,
have
I'm
you?
not crazy over the top, but I'm going to make it, facilitate this party as best I can as a participant. I'm not going to go there and sit and be.
I mean, I would do that.
Crash the
Not gonna
party.
lie.
I never get invited again. So.
Okay, but wait. Have either of you watched it's a movie on Apple TV, Cha Cha Real Smooth?
Yeah.
It's about this kid that I think, his archetype is kind of like any Effie. I don't know, maybe Decider Observer, but that's kind of his archetype. And he like gets sort of secondhand dragged into becoming the hype man for all of the bar mitzvahs in his town. Okay. And it sounds exactly like what you're describing you're doing of like, okay, I'm going to be the one to come in and then just like get people excited in the NF, get people vibing.
Yeah, just talking. I'll bring up questions or something like that. What do you guys think about this and that? And then the conversation starts, and I'm just sitting back observing the conversation after that, and just pushing just keeping things moving, so that it doesn't get boring. If it lags, then I'm like, hey, let's put some music on. Yeah. That kind of thing.
So you're trying to make it like fun, but isn't it more SF then?
Make it fun, make it interesting.
Interesting, yes.
Yeah,
fun and interesting.
Make it fun. Okay. Bring up something unusual.
Yeah.
That an interesting experience that people they won't get at a typical whatever.
Yeah, but I also do find that if you get SF play and NF play together in a room, like they're both vibing in a similar way. Yeah.
How do you guys see yourself doing it differently from like the ESTPs, for example, with our SEFE?
Oh, I think they're more willing to say anything. I think NE is looking a little bit more at like what's the meaning or consequence of everything that happens, and SE is like, what immediately right now can I say to make the vibe happen something here, and and it almost doesn't matter what that is.
I think the ESTPs and stuff like that, they kind of run in almost like a different circle sometimes. Mm-hmm. And so if you're in a room like that and they're the dominant, then it's like this is going to be a real strong sensory kind of thing, and there might be, it's stereotypical. But there might be beer drinking or people pushing other people into the pool, or
right?
That kind of. I don't normally do that kind of thing. I'll drink a beer, but I'm like saying,
this is more like
not rowdy kind of,
Okay, would you describe your vibe, Darren, as like musical theater crew? I feel like that's more of the SEFE plays are more like the, I don't know, like the activities and parties and dance crew. And NAFEs are more like the arts and musical theater crew.
Literary art.
Yeah, exactly.
Current events.
Let's go to a dinner party where we discuss literature.
Events or something.
Exactly.
Let's watch this movie. That was some. It might be one of those art film type. I had a whole bunch of friends that were like, what do they call them, artsy fartsy, when I lived in New York, especially. But you have to really. It's hard to find that kind of crew. Really, it's really hard to find that.
Right, you have to be in like certain areas because it's so involved. It's so like I see NF play as like looking at the consequences of culture over time. So that's very much in the arts realm. So you have to be in places where
you kind of start seeing where the vibe is going off. Like these people are going too far on the deep end.
Yeah.
If they started doing something that like it doesn't agree with my principles or ideas, then I would cut that out.
I can see you guys taking like like a wheatgrass shot instead of like a tequila shot. Like it's more like it's like a tone of hippiness.
Don't get me into a group of people that talk about health food and diet and exercise and all. I love that kind of junk. Do
you identify with the sort of persona or character that David Shan used to describe the other NEFEs, like Jessica Fozard and what's her name, Asia Kate Dillon, where they are intentionally going out. It's almost SJW, but not quite. It's like they're intentionally going out and trying to move the narrative in culture on large philosophical issues.
Oh yeah, no, not really. No.
Are you looking at that though? Like, do you see and understand that kind of stuff? But you're not like.
I'm kind of, you know what I really, I mean, like and I wouldn't, I mean, I probably, if in a different life or in a different, if I was in a different, yeah, if I was focused differently, I think it'd be more like on the, what's the guy's name? Jordan Peterson. I mean, that kind of
Yeah.
thing where the, what's the other kid, the Jewish guy?
Ben Shapiro.
Yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
like the way, you know, like that kind of rapid fire,
Mm-hmm.
putting things together, thinking that way kind of is fascinating and interesting to me. And then they always say these profound things that about our culture and how it's, you know,
Right.
and I'm just
Right.
like,
It's
yeah, you
like
know what?
looking at humanity and civilization across
Right,
time, like
chunks,
anthropology almost.
anthropological
Yeah.
view of what that's really fascinating to me. And I tend to lean towards that to some degree.
You know that the ENTPs are really extreme with this. So like as you guys were talking about, you know, there is the side where it's more like SJW ish, but not quite there, but ish. And then you have Jordan Peterson, who's like the opposite of that, you know. So I'm like, what the hell's going on? Why is there like the ENTP has like these two separate camps, you know, and they kind of are against each other?
Well, I mean,
I
I
understand
think
what SJW-ish means. What is that? What does that mean?
well, I mean, I think there's like a negative connotation to the use of SJW, of like a screaming activist who goes and protests and like yells in people's faces. That's like the
Yeah,
sort
yeah.
of mimetic archetype of it. But in reality, it's like using ideas and emotional narrative to move the whole society in a certain direction.
I think that has a like a
It often ends up being political, but not always.
yeah.
Political or social.
I think the TI, my masculine TI, is more about controlling myself and setting an example, as opposed to trying to push everybody else to do something that I want them to do.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Well, because the example that Emily was giving earlier about that person in the class, I forgot her name. Can you repeat her name again? The Matrix, is it the Matrix one or something else?
The Jessica Fozard,
No, the other
Asia
one.
Kate Dillon.
Asia?
I think that's the one. She's the one that's she's a they, I think, or I don't remember her pronouns, but
Oh yeah. Right. They, I guess.
they,
Non-binary or something.
yeah. So so she's very double decider about it, you know, because she had an interview with Ellen. So for them, it's not like you know, like the one that David Chan makes fun of in class, like the EJs, the EJ, like you know, like the
Kelly
super,
Clarkson and Sandra
like
Bullock.
Or something there.
like the Karen level SJW, you know.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, it's still double decider, so it's like fine, it's fine, right? Like as long as you're double decider about it, it's fine, right? But then so that's why I'm more like curious. I'm like, what are you guys' take on this? Because you know,
Yeah, right. Well, I think there are different flavors of it. Like there's the actual blaster flavor of it, which tends to be more identified as like Karen energy. But if you're a consume player, play consume, it's gonna be, and especially NF play. It's not obvious. It's not concrete. It's ideas that you're permeating into the culture, much like the way that Jordan Peterson and Ben Shapiro do it. I mean, obviously they're divisive and they like upset people from what they say, but generally speaking, the way that they're proliferating their ideas is by shifting the NF, shifting the meanings that people understand about the narrative of humanity. And so, especially like I said, if you're play consumer or consume play, you're not going to go around like blasting that in people's faces really obviously. You're just going to kind of what I was describing earlier, you're going to like sheepdog everybody in the direction that you think the society should go.
Ben Shapiro is kind of very blasty about it, though, about like his stance on it. You know, he's quite aggressive, you know, compared to the other guys.
Well, maybe. I mean, he debates and he has masculine TI, but he's not like going around shoving that down people's throats. Obviously, he's a public figure and, you know, that he gets in confrontations and he doesn't back down. But I wouldn't say that he's like actively going to people who disagree with him and being like, I have to blaster tell you what you need to do, you know.
And he usually has backing for what he has to say. I mean, I think it's, if you're just all emotion and no logical backing, no structure, no facts, nothing, then you're really inviting a lot of conflict, which you don't even have a leg to stand on. You know, I think it has something there, something solid to, if you're going to make an argument, to back it up.
Yeah.
Emily, you have feminine TI, so how do you feel if you were put in that arena? Where like they're like having a verbal sparring.
Well, I can manage it because I have masculine FE and I can punch with that. But when it comes to my personally held principles, I will it's not that I won't fight or I won't be able to fight, it's that I will more quickly decide it's not worth it. Like I'll double decide my way out of it a lot faster, I think. Because I just don't want to like punch from my personal point of view very often.
Right. And your first animal is also double feminine, so you're leading with double feminine. It's kind of interesting. You're double.
Yeah, I call it noodle NT. It's like, am I really NT? Probably maybe not.
Yeah, you don't come across very NT. It's strange, like.
Oh no, not compared to you, Kendrick.
But I'm also double feminine NT. I'm also noodle like you.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
That was a dunk.
Yeah. Darren is the double masculine here with the NT.
I don't feel like I come off that. Do I come off NT?
No, you're very.
No, but when you're talking with people, you can. I mean, I think it's pretty easy to see if it's savior or demon NT, like because of the direction that conversation tends to go with NTs tends to be very different than the direction that it goes with. SF is the exact opposite, but even ST or like NF.
That's interesting, because the NFs, like Kendrick, you have NT play, right?
Yeah, double feminine NT play.
And so that's true of all the NFs that are like all ENFPs and all INTPs. That's just that whole quadrant has that NT play. Regardless.
Well, yours is consumed.
Delta.
Yeah, all of Delta is NT play.
NT play, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The INFPs, ESTJs, and the what's that one? ISTJ.
You don't even care about your own
ISTJ. Yeah, who cares about those guys?
I thought it was my quadrant, but it's
I'm more curious about you guys because there's like a lot of stuff about you guys I'm trying to learn from. Like the NF play is like one of the biggest like the it's like a weird animal, it's hard to understand what it is. ST sleep is very like kind of straightforward, but NF play is confusing as hell. Like even though I have a surface level knowledge of what it is, but I'm trying to get from you guys. It's like because you both double activated on that, right? So it's like, it's like what the hell's going on with this NF play thing?
Yeah, that's evident.
It's not quite like like the ESTP. They'll shove each other in the swimming pool. Like have like a I don't know like a beer bong.
Oh, is that what you're hoping for? We can shove you if you want.
Yeah, that's like your end shoving. It's like that's all you're gonna get from me. It's like that's it. Okay. If you guys so you guys are both different still because one of you is a jumper, one's a standard. What do you guys want to learn from each other in terms of like what's it like to be in the other end?
I wrote down a whole bunch of stuff because you guys had some questions.
Fire off your questions.
Yeah, go ahead, Darren.
They're going to be some silly things, but because I'm like, okay, well, because if you're MM, then that means that you're audio. Is that correct?
No, kinesthetic.
You're kinesthetic.
You're audio, I think. Oh no, you're
I'm
double feminine. You're
That's his tester. Your tester visual, and then Emily's is kinesthetic audio.
Kinesthetic audio.
Yeah.
Okay. So then, how are you with music? Like, what is your? Do you like listen to music a lot? Do you visualize anything when you hear music? Do you remember the lyrics? Do lyrics matter to you?
Oh yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I do typically remember the lyrics. I'm good with rhythm, but less so with pitch. Like I'm not a great singer. I'm kind of pitchy as a singer. And I listen to a lot of music, but it is I think it is like kind of an NF experience, Yeah. Oh, I mean, like, I don't know. I think No, surprisingly, it's like tickling my demon feelings, I would say. Oh, like people who see my playlists, they're like, okay, what is this garbage music? It's like a lot of show tunes and a lot of like sappy like music and
Oh, really?
yeah, and like melodic stuff. I like stuff with strings and horns and things. Um yeah, it's like a way for me to access demon feelings, I think.
Oh, that's pretty cool. I like
Yeah.
that. I mean, I would say mine is a little bit similar, I guess. I mean, it spans, because you're in a,
Yeah.
I mean, you got that intuition. It's going to expand a big, broad, range of musical. But I like, if I at the very beginning of a song, immediately the whole song comes to mind. Like, oh, I know what this song is, and half the time I
Yeah.
know the lyrics. So when
Yeah.
you're playing one of those games, like name, that tune or something, I'm like, oh, this one and this
Yeah.
one. So I just was wondering, of like, if you're a different sexual modality with that.
I have that too. If it's something that's in my consume, like obviously if I don't know the music, I
Yeah.
won't recognize it. But yeah, I do have good recall for that kind of stuff.
You have like a nostalgic thing with the SI.
Yeah,
Or a lot of
that
old songs,
and also
like, oh, I love this song. Remember this?
yeah, because I do have a little bit of an audio component with masculine sensory. A lot of sounds will pull memories and images.
Uh-huh.
So like that's how I remembered how I listened to lectures in college was I would diagram out what they were talking about, and then it would connect to what they were saying, and then when I looked at it, it would pull the audio back from the lecture.
That's what I did.
Yeah.
I have all these books from college that I drew pictures.
Yeah.
Well, I was an art major, so part of it was I'm watching a video or a slide or a presentation with pictures, and I would just draw what I'd seen. Really, and then when I was taking Spanish, I would draw a picture instead of writing down the words because I couldn't write fast enough in Spanish.
Yeah. Yeah.
But drawing the picture would make me go, okay, I'm hearing the words in Spanish, and I'm drawing a picture of what I'm hearing, so I know that I'm understanding it.
That's
So
cool. I mean,
I thought that was a visual thing.
contrasting, my goal in Spanish was to pass the class without learning anything. So so I did that.
Very easy.
With,
That's very easy.
yeah.
So
But
funny.
no, but yeah, that is interesting. It is more visuals are part of it, but I think it's more of an audio thing for me.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So
Well,
Emily,
it could be kind of kinesthetic though, because you're actually
Yeah,
doing something.
right.
You're moving while you're doing it,
Yeah.
Emily, do you have a bad sense of smell? Because it's the opposite of MM is FF, right? So double feminine, it's tester. Tester is more correlated with smell. So do you have a bad sense of smell?
Well, I don't know, Kendrick. Why don't you rip one right here and we'll see if I can smell it.
Yeah, I'll send it over the internet.
Like, I don't know, compared to what? The only thing is my own sense of smell, so
No,
it's
I mean,
fine to me. I
sen-
can
are you
smell
sensitive?
things.
Are you sensitive to it? Like,
I mean, like, I don't want to smell garbage can when I walk down
no,
the
of course
street.
not. But
Like,
okay, all right.
I don't
I
know.
can't even say that my sense of smell is like more than most people.
Yeah,
would say
because double
people-
feminines, I noticed with you guys, it's like super sensitive.
Not for me.
Not for you? Okay.
It's mild. I mean, it's mild. I mean, if like I pull out something out of the refrigerator and it's spoiled, I'll be able to tell. But it's not like, oh, I can't, walk down the street because I lived in New York. I mean, there are smells everywhere, so you've got to get used to it.
Fair enough. The other thing I noticed about you guys is like because of your sexual modalities, Darren, you have a double feminine SF blast and then Emily's double masculine. So
Mhm.
with like Emily, like, do you like tell people what they should like, with that like SF, like what's
No, I don't control people.
when is it bullshit? That's everyone knows EP is the most controlling, but anyways, when does it come out though?
It comes out when I get mad about something, or when I get frustrated that nobody is looking at what I'm looking at, and I'm like, hello, everyone, please understand this concept. And then, when they're talking about like Dave and Shannon are talking about, like, for example, Neil deGrasse Tyson, and he goes into like a blaster about something with outer space or whatever. They're like, he sounds angry, but he's like just giving a lesson. That's kind of what it looks like. You know, people
I
will be
see.
like, "Are you mad, bro?" And I'm like, "No, I'm giving a lesson." But
Oh,
sometimes I am actually mad too.
oh. Okay, so sometimes it's just your vibe, but sometimes you're actually angry. So what, like, when are you actually mad when you're doing that? That's
When
weird.
I'm mad. I mean, like, what do you
Okay,
mean?
okay.
So, what's the girl, Lijo, explained
Mhm.
last, like you're taking your known information and you're using it in behalf of the tribe.
Mhm.
Explain to them some concepts, but it's something that they need or that you feel they need. And it's not just ranting or
Right.
blasting at them, just releasing some kind of, anger. So
Yeah, well, set a lead blaster. It's easy and you just let it out. Like, so you just let out the lesson that you clearly have prepared all the
yeah,
time in
yeah,
every
just
situation. But for me, it's like by the time I have to blast, by the time I'm like, this is so dire that for the sake of a tribe, a lesson needs to happen and I'm the only one that's gonna have to do it. Then I'm like, okay, listen to this goddamn fucking lesson I'm about to give you. It's not gonna be fun for either of us. And by the time I get to the end of it, you're gonna be sorry you had to hear it from me. Like, it's that kind of
I think
energy.
like, because the consume is over the blast, right?
Yeah.
So you've consumed all this information,
Yeah.
never been telling anybody about it, and and you're hoping they're going to get it through play.
Yeah.
You're
And
like,
right. And it's also
finally it's like, oh, for goodness, I just have to tell you now.
yeah, exactly. And it's like this overwhelming feeling of like, how how am I going to be able to convey both the breadth of any and the depth of TI in like one blaster lesson? Like, it's
Right,
so
right.
frustrating.
Well, do you go on rants sometimes? Like, do you get fed up and then just go on a rant? Like,
I mean, not long ones. Like, I'll rant a little bit, but I like, especially the blast lasters, you know, they can get rolling and then it's like, good luck. But, or even like Jordan Peterson with masculine NT, he can give like a real freaking consume report. But for me, I get a little bit skittish with my consume reports. I'm like, okay, nobody wants to hear this anymore because I flip back to DE, like reading the room, you know?
yeah, yeah. I think the NP will, like, the person starts flinching or people start looking.
Yeah, I'm like, nobody wants to hear me like struggle through blast.
I'm on a blaster thing, where I'm like really like going. It's not even blast. I'm just like vomiting whatever is in my consume.
Right.
And sometimes I'll see that the person is like yawning or like looking away, and it's like I can't stop, and I can see that this is a train wreck, but I'm gonna get it out.
Oh, really?
That's funny.
Okay.
That's a good.
That's interesting. I wonder if that must be masculine NT more.
I just can't. It's like it's weird. Every now and then it doesn't happen all the time. When it does, it's like I'm going to say this, and you're going to hear it. I don't care if you're paying attention or not. It's got to come out.
Yeah. Yeah.
End of story.
Well, it makes sense to me why you would be angry if you blasted now, Emily, because like in the classes they talk about like the triggering function is still the fourth one. So you're using your SI, and then blast is also like an IJ animal, right? You know, so you're using your fourth function, and then the IJ animal, which is the opposite of us EPs. So of course, yeah, it makes sense why you would be angry. And double masculine also for your blast. You know, I think Darren is more friendly with that. It's like double feminine. So I don't know, like you kind of talked about it in our one-on-one interview with your you teach with your kids and stuff. So so I can see the difference there.
It usually turns into a Q&A instead of a blaster lesson.
So you go back to play that. You try to go back to play.
I will sprinkle play throughout my blast to keep people involved, and
you have to ping people along the way.
I think it helps to make sure they're paying attention, because I don't want them to lose the point. Because I mean, you sit in a classroom enough times and you watch teachers that are full on blast, and everybody's like, they're off. Their brains are gone.
I find I often have to check in with the tribe too, like play ping when I'm trying to convey something, because I tend to like so quickly overview stuff that I lose people really fast, and they're like, what?
Yeah, that's true too.
Yeah.
I think because our brains will jump. It's not sequential, so it jumps ahead, and then you've got to go back and make sure that they're on page.
Yeah, or even like I'll just condense so many points together, like, oh, you get the picture. And when people are like, no,
Yeah,
I
they
need
don't-
you
they
to
don't get it
literally
at all.
walk me through it.
Yeah, the ESFP is like, where's the censor words? You know?
Yeah, but it
Right.
feels like, from my point of view, it feels so condescending to like
Exactly.
literally walk
Redundant.
someone
Like-
through. But it's not, because otherwise, even even when I'm talking to another lead NE, a lot of times you have to calibrate to each other, to figure out where the other person is, where they're going, and then be able to see the connections. But even though that's true for no matter who you're communicating to, my brain still tells me like, oh, don't put in all that garbage information, just give the idea.
Some people tell me like, you lied to me. I'm like, why? They're like, you said you did this and you did that, but when you were saying it, you didn't say it. And
That
I'm like,
happens
well,
to me too.
I didn't lie. It was just like I didn't want to include all that information that was useless. It had nothing to do with the point I was trying to make.
Yeah, that
Yes,
happens.
I was here, but I did this other stuff before, and I didn't tell you all of that because you don't need to know all that. That would be boring and stupid, and it had nothing to do with why I was there over there in the first place.
Yeah,
But they're like, no, you lied.
Yeah, that really upsets people, and like, I guess I can understand why, because I have like a missing info complex. I guess I could see how like, oh, there's info that you didn't tell me about would be triggering, but at the same time, I'm like, guys, it really doesn't matter. In the grand scheme, it doesn't really matter.
You said it was blue, but it was actually turquoise. It's like,
yeah.
I just realized you're both ST last also. That's why like the accuracy of the number
It
itself.
doesn't matter at all. No.
not depending on what the point is, If the point is the sensory, yes, you definitely need to say it. But if it's not, and it's that's just some tangential detail to
Ooh, genital detail.
I've never heard anyone say that before.
it's like a tangent, you're like going off on a tangent. It's like you don't need to know all that stuff. You just need to know this. So why give it to you,
Right.
I can see like the ESTP's like eyes glaze over when you're like talking, like, what is this person saying? There is no censor word, like
Yeah, but also my eyes glaze over a lot when other people are talking too, because like it's so tedious. It's so tedious. I'm like, I can't hang on. What?
Are you talking about the details? If people are like giving you like the all the details or what?
Yeah, it's a lot of times it's with sensors, but pretty much with everything. If my DI doesn't want to consume what you're saying, like, I'm out. I'm not gonna listen to you.
Is it because it's like double feminine consume? So you tend to get like
No, it's because I don't give a shit what you have to say. It's probably dumb and wrong anyway.
that is weird because you're like lead consume.
Right.
So, and you're also info dominant. So it's
but here's why. Like, NT consume, most people, unless you're a highly interesting person, most people don't have anything interesting to say. So when someone starts talking, I know I have a sense of where it's going and whether I want to hear it. And if I don't want to hear it, then I'm like, I'm thinking about something else.
I think I will tend to try to rush their story along sometimes, which is rude. And then sometimes I'll just bear it because I'm like, you know what, this is a good lesson in learning how to be patient. And I'll chastise myself. I will chastise them. Like, you shouldn't run over people. You want people to listen to you. You got to listen to them. Fairsies, be nice to people. Blah 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 blah. And so on. But even though part of my brain is like, oh God, somebody kill me.
Yeah. Okay, but here's a question. Unrelated channel change question. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you hate Will Wheaton?
That is.
You don't know who Will Wheaton is?
No, who is he?
Yeah, who is
He
that?
was in the guild with Felicia Day. He's like in a lot of like nerd stuff. He also has a YouTube channel called I forget, like board games, where he just tries different board games and like makes people play board games with him. But according to Airtable, he's like a consume last ENTP.
They exist?
Yeah, right. Because we've been looking in the ENTP chat. Sorry, no jumpers allowed.
How can you be
Get excluded, Darren.
Play, blast, sleep. Yeah. And like, okay, on some level, NF play, I understand the appeal of like doing a board game channel. In that sense, like I'm okay with Will Wheaton. I've watched his channel. But also like his Twitter feed is hot garbage. Like holy hell.
No, he's probably
Yeah. Anyway, he's like the fabled consume last ENTP. I'm just waiting until we have a few more and so I can really,
that's
really
interesting.
start.
There's not a single one. They don't exist. You know.
Well, they do. They're out there. They're just insufferable, so probably society has excised them from the tribe.
Yeah, I haven't seen any consume last ESTPs either. That Felicia Day was like the rare one ENFP consume last.
Yeah.
And
There are a couple.
surprisingly, there's
Oh yeah. Them. I guess that's why they're friends. Consume last any EPs.
yeah,
That's brutal, dude.
and then it's weird. There's a lot of consume last ESFP. I'm like, what the heck? There's like
Oh
quite
yeah,
a few.
yeah, like play, yeah, because they're like they feel very like EJ-ish.
Yeah, they do. They do. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
I think I might know a couple of those, but yeah, it is funny. I want to see a few more consume last ENTPs just so I can like deride and make.
He is such a weird game changer because we're outside of OP with those. Would they ever identify that?
Yeah, exactly. Right, because I was gonna ask you, like, do you feel like play consume and consume play could almost be like separated into different types?
You mean separated into a different type?
Yeah, like from outside of an OP perspective, like technically we're the same Myers-Briggs type,
Right.
but OP separates us. But like just from an anecdotal, like comparing people perspective, do you feel like we would be like different types?
Well, I think if we both took the Myers-Briggs test, we might come out to be separate types, very different.
Yeah,
types.
right. Because you type ENFP on Myers-Briggs.
Yeah, no matter what. And I even went to like socionics, right?
Yeah.
And then they were like, oh, in socionics, you can even actually identify people by visually type them, by how they look. And send us your picture. So I did. Of course, they came back. They said ENFP. So then I sent it off to, I literally went.
You're not a ginger. No, I'm kidding.
I know. I used to have red hair. Changed.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. I went through different. It was so. I think when I get the Enneagram, actually, kind of, when I finally got my OP type and then I saw what it was, it made sense with my Enneagram type.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, there it is. That's what it is.
Yeah.
But all the other, like so many, years and years and years, because masculine NE is obsessive and you don't want it. It is obsessive, compulsive. It's not like, oh, it's so dreamy. No, it's like, I'm going to learn about this thing and it'll go really, really hard and it'll like look up every book. It'll go to everything it can get. It'll just constantly, and it's hard to turn it off.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you don't want that.
Hey, Kendrick, did you take Myers-Briggs before your OP type?
Yeah, I did. I was when I was going to college, the Myers-Briggs practitioner came and like gave everyone in a class like a thick report on their personality type. I got ENFP.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah,
Because I was gonna say like, but Darren typed NF, like his temperament was right, and I typed INTJ, which my temperament was right, NT. So, but
Yeah.
I guess it got you close-ish too, I guess.
Yeah, CS Joseph got me as ENFP also. So I got ENFP in like three different groups. So
yeah.
it's just, I was surprised. What's that one? What's that?
Let's see if Joseph. I won't even go to that.
What about host Eric? Let's go. It's about host Eric.
I personally like him. I know a lot of people don't like him, but I personally like him. But but it is what it is. I understand.
The overall feeling is like, wow. I just.
Ooh, let's talk about people that we are triggered by.
Well, Darren
First of all, Will Wheaton.
That was the only one.
Yes, Joseph. Oh, okay. Well, dang it. That's a disappointment.
All right, guys. Well, we'll wrap up the interview here because I have another one coming up. So thanks for coming out, guys. And this is like super chaotic, which is exactly what I was looking for. I kind of expected, but it was more chaotic than I expected, which is even better. So it's good.
Cool.
All right.
Thanks for having us.
Take care, guys.
Thanks, Kendrick.
Bye.